Welcome. You're listening to the Louis Minor Show. I'm your host, Bell County Commissioner Louis Minor. Today is August 8th, 2005, and we have a lot of stuff to cover. There's a lot of things going on in the state, in the county. So let's get to it. Let's get to the agenda for Monday, August 11th at 9 in the morning at the Bell County Historic Courthouse in downtown Belton. As always, we have the invocation, Pledge of Allegiance, and then we have considered dates for public hearings and for the approval of the budget and tax rate. Item A is first tax rate public hearing, August 20th, 2025 at 6 p.m. B, budget public hearing, August 25th, 2025 at 9 a.m. Second tax rate public hearing, August 25th, 2005 at 9 a.m. And then adoption of the 2026 budget and tax rate, August 25th, 2025 at 9 a.m. So those are items that we'll consider. Next item is presentation of the proposed FY 2026 budget. County Judge will give his little budget presentation. Then item 5, discuss and consider elected official salaries for FY 2026. Item 6, consider and discuss and consider funding outreach coordinator for Bell County Animal Shelter FY 2026. Item 7, discuss and consider funding additional clerk position for JP2 and JP3 place 2 in FY 2026. Then we have item 8, discuss and consider funding increase for Road and Bridge Director salary in FY 2026. Then finally, we have consider approval of the proposed tax rates for notice of public hearing, notice of public hearing purposes for the FY 2026 budget tax rate. So that one is key because once we send out that public notice, we cannot go above whatever that public notice is. We can always go lower, but we cannot go above. So just FYI for that part. And that's it for Monday's meeting that we'll be discussing. So what's going on in Texas? I mean, we all know that our state Democrats, the Democratic caucus, House caucus, has fled the state, has broke quorum because of the Republicans are trying to redistrict our congressional seats because President Trump has directed them to. So I was at a rally, redistricting hearing down at the Capitol. People are not happy. People are upset, and I don't blame them. Mid redistricting, it's been done once before. But they're trying to get 5 seats out of Texas. So for them to do that, the proposed map has some crazy lines, and it's really a shame what they're doing. They did say, Supreme Court ruled a couple of years ago that you can gerrymander for political purposes, but you cannot gerrymander for race. And those are, pretty hand in hand as far as, majority minority districts typically vote Democratic. And so they're going to crack those, and it's going to be allowed. So it's a real shame what they're doing, this power grab. But it's not going unanswered. Illinois New York, and California all are threatening to do the same thing. So, so I have Representative John Busey's cell phone number. He's a longtime friend of mine. Representative Gina Hinojosa, Vicky Goodwin, Josie Garcia. I text them all, encouragement and support, and thanking them for standing up for Texans, and that we're not going to allow this to happen. But locally, one of the things that I talked about that's going to be on Monday is funding a position called the outreach coordinator. So let me kind of bring to you why all this is coming up. So I'll play a little clip.
Advocates met with the Bell County Commissioner about the conditions and practices of the Bell County Animal Shelter. They are raising concerns about the limited space, leadership, and most of all, spike in euthanizations. 6 News reporter Sydney Walker is live in studio to share more about the push to make the shelter no-kill. Sydney?
Over 400 animals have been euthanized by the Bell County Animal Shelter since January. Commissioner Louis Miner, with the help of locals, wants to put an end to that.
So y'all can understand the processes for Bell County, and then how we can help, how y'all can help me.
Animal lovers in Bell County have been vocal about concerns with the county animal shelter.
A volunteer emailed all the commissioners and wanted to bring to our attention the increased euthanasia rate.
Bell County Commissioner Louis Miner listened.
Since the new sheriff took over, I guess there was a change in policy, and that led to increased euthanization of animals.
He was shocked at what he found.
The numbers that we got, it was over 621. And to me, that's unacceptable.
In numbers obtained by 6 News, in June, 67 dogs were adopted, but 60 were euthanized. Cats have a larger gap, with only 43 adopted and 126 euthanized.
Half the animals that you've probably seen at the animal shelter probably won't be here in a week.
He said volunteers told him that the live release rate has dropped from 80% to 46%. Many blame the sheriff's office, the group in charge of the shelter. Miner believes they should no longer be in charge.
They should not be in the animal shelter business.
In discussion with local advocates, budgeting was a main topic.
Authority is over the budget. And with that budget, we're able to move things around.
But the main goal, making the shelter no-kill.
We get a no-kill shelter here in Bell County. That's what my goal is. That's what everyone's here goal is.
Locals had many ideas, from establishing a foster program, emphasizing spay and neuter programs, and even creating an outreach coordinator position, all to help Bell County's furry friends.
I'm no expert in that. I'm going to rely on the experts here to tell us what we need to accomplish that. But I think it's something that can be accomplished because other places are doing it.
Discussions continue Monday at the next Bell County Commissioners meeting. Locals are encouraged to attend.
Alrighty, thank you, Sydney.
So you heard that is the problem that our new Sheriff Bill Cook, changed policies. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the county, and we don't hear we don't hear what's going on unless someone brings it to our attention. So this came up to the Commissioner's Court attention because a person that volunteers at the animal shelter was complaining about the euthanasia rate increasing, and that a bunch of animals, they estimated hundreds, have been unnecessarily euthanized. So I started looking into it. I'm not on the Animal Advisory Board. Commissioner Whitson is on the Animal Advisory Board, and supposed to have a vet. There's some people from the Sheriff's Office that are there, a member of the public. Miss Anka Nagu from Precinct 4 is on it. So I started getting all these troubling reports of things going on over there. And from what I was told is that there's a new policy that 10 kennels are supposed to be free either at the beginning of the day or the end of the day, because they want to keep room in case something comes in. So there's only one way, at least right now, to free up kennels. Either they get adopted or they get euthanized, and that's it. So, I mean, I started getting information from the animal advocates, the rescues. There's a bunch of them in Bell County. This was not something that I was, well informed on. So my guide is the law, the statutes, and then best practices of what's going on with other shelters in the area. So, given that information, this meeting that I had over 50 people show up to voice their concerns and wanting a no-kill animal shelter, among other things. We were trying to find solutions. At the end of the day, we need to get the rate down and get more animals moved into adoption or another home, their forever home. So what does no kill mean? No kill generally means that you have a 90% live animal placement rate. So 90% of the animals that come into the shelter have to go somewhere alive. And that's not happening. From my understanding, what people told us, that we were at 80%, 85%, something like that. Pretty good. Not quite no kill, but it was a pretty good rate. But after the new sheriff implemented this policy, that got us down to 46%, and that's unacceptable. 621 animals, dogs and cats, have been euthanized in Bell County, and that's not acceptable to me, and it wasn't acceptable to all the people. So I heard them. I started listening to them. I called meetings, and I think we're going to try and get some stuff done. At least at a minimum, hire an outreach coordinator. So after my meeting, what this news clip that I just played from Channel 6 covered, we had a meeting of the Commissioner's Court to talk about increasing the budget, talking about maybe staff, moving the animal shelter. And we're talking about this now because, we're trying to figure out the budget for next year. So this is about a 30-minute clip, a little bit more than 30 minutes. But I want you to hear what the commissioners are saying. I want you to hear what the judge is saying. No one from the shelter or the sheriff's department really spoke during this part. Some of the animal advocates were at the beginning of the meeting and spoke in favor of hiring an outreach coordinator, moving it from the sheriff's department. There's probably about 6 or 7 people, but they left after the beginning of the meeting, and then probably 2 hours later, we had a chance to revisit the animal shelter. So let me play this for you, and you'll be able to hear what we are talking about. So let me pull up this clip.
Okay. We're good with them. All right. Animal shelters. So the animal shelters budget is $620,596.
Yeah, hang on. Pause there for a second, because I saw that in the handout they did, but when I looked at the budget, I didn't get that. Or maybe I'm looking at the wrong sheet.
This is what Tina gave me.
Are you looking in the budget folder?
No.
No, I'm talking.
Oh,
Preliminary budget. No, you're talking to me, because I may be looking in the wrong place. Let me find it. What I got was 526,486. That's last year's. Yes. So the 610 is what's proposed.
no.
It says the county spends 625.96. What I see in the budget worksheets is 526,486 is what the amended budget is for FY25.
That might be for employees.
That's this current year.
Yes, what you asked for is what was in the budget
Right. Now, what
for
is-
FY 26,
next
right?
year.
The proposed budget.
What is that?
That's not what we spent this year.
No.
Oh,
26.
What's in the budget for 26 next year?
There's six.
120,590.
Yeah.
620. Okay.
Okay, but the sheet says the county spends. We haven't.
They're wrong. That sheet.
It's 526,486.
That's this year's current budget.
That's the current budget for that.
Well, what is?
Okay, I just want to make sure. I want to make sure I got the right numbers.
Judge, what do we got? What do we have budgeted for this? What we're talking about is the budget for next year.
correct.
Yes. What have we budgeted for that?
620,596.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, got it. I just want to make sure I know what number.
Okay.
Sorry.
So of that 625.96, 527,736 is employee salaries, animal control officers. The remaining 92,860 is operational for the shelter. And if you subtract meals, lodging, schools, take all that out of it that's employee related, that leaves 56,900 that I guess is going to,
Dog food. And
yes, correct, stuff like that, vaccines, vet services, all that stuff. So we heard our residents wanting increases to that. I think Rescue Magazine on Friday, they came and spoke. Ron said that he donated 80,000 pounds of food to the shelter last year. I don't know if we keep tabs of donations.
We do. There's a separate revenue and fixed cost center for that.
So whenever
Donations separately.
so we track all donations to the shelter.
how much is that?
Usually about 10,000-ish. 12,000. Yeah.
Well, I asked
Have we seen animals that haven't been fed?
No.
I mean, no, that was my question. And when we get to this was, when I add money for food, are the animals going hungry?
no, not that I'm aware of.
Not that I'm aware of either.
But
What's your proposal?
I was going to bump it up to 7,000.
Bump what up?
The food cost. So it's 15,000 right now.
First off, we're not running the shelter. That's under the sheriff, and the sheriff didn't request
Well,
that.
that's another. That's another.
Because we're assuming a lot of things. When you said that we don't have enough money for food, one would think, just like the judge says, the dogs aren't getting fed. So I think they're getting fed properly.
Well, and they haven't spent the 15,000 that they have budgeted this year.
That's what I'm looking at too. Is they haven't spent the money they.
So just because there's a placeholder there does not, that's based on historical numbers to say we know we probably need about 15,000 worth of food. If that were to decrease, or if for some reason food costs doubled, let's say, this year, then we can fix that and add, we would fix it and add
Not enough
7,000.
fed.
Right.
There'll be 30,000. They're not going to get fed. I think the
Because they get food
misperception is
donations.
Yes.
we only budget $15,000 and we need $21,000. So you guys are short and you're not feeding your dogs. I don't think that happens.
Yeah, I'm not.
So they got to look and see what we've paid. We're feeding everybody and see what we've spent versus what we
I
budgeted.
just don't think there's a shortfall.
There's not a shortfall.
Because that,
Well,
none
we're
of that takes into
depending a lot
consideration
on
donations of
donations.
food.
But we get, but historically, that's what I was going to ask.
It's okay.
Go back
I
5 years.
may have, we track monetary donations that come in.
Oh.
We don't track dog food that comes
Okay.
in.
Okay.
We don't track
No.
physical
Right.
items that come in. We only track monetary. And then we have an expense department or expense cost center for them to spend those.
And there's been
That's not what they
times
need.
So
where we have second donations.
It's not in there.
Okay. If someone comes and writes a check for $500,
No,
It goes into a designated fund.
that's in there. But if somebody brings in 2 bags of dog food,
That's not
that's
in
not
there.
attract that.
But we have actually been inundated with dog food where we had to
We have to give it away to
give
somebody.
it away
Right.
or we can store it.
Yeah, store that.
Maybe we had too much, but
The animal control facilities around the county, in Temple, there used to be, I just went blank, what's the
don't dog
pet food
No.
Mars.
Well,
I mean, it's donate pellets.
Oh gosh, dumb dog who used to his wife.
I thought there was an agreement with like PetSmart or Petco,
There
one
is.
of those two, where they get
PetSmart,
certain. Yeah.
PetSmart sends a truckload.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's not, in my view, it's not an area of need.
Well, I mean, I wanted to comment on those because it's you got to also you can't just see what's budgeted and say we're going to spend that and I calculate how much we feed the dogs and so they're not getting fed. You got to look and see what's spent and what's not spent
And what's needed.
and what's needed. And if it's needed, we're going to spend it.
Yep, absolutely. Same thing with vaccines.
And that's why
We don't want to over
running the
budget it if
shelter.
we don't need it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing,
That's right.
because they do have those donations that come in.
And I think that we didn't cut anything with the animal control. What they requested is what they thought they needed because they're running it. We actually gave them a couple more people, I think, over the last couple of years.
Last year, I think.
So, anyway, sorry.
The animal service contract, that does not include vaccines, or it does include
It
vaccines?
includes whatever we pay coming out of the operating budget to the vets.
Yes. Whatever they
can't-
see fit. But
Yeah.
but we buy vaccines at the shelter, and not rabies because the vet has to do that. But the puppy vaccine, kitten vaccines, and the don't call it. We buy there.
And we administrated.
Well, that's what was surprising to me when she said that there were some that went home without vaccines. I'm like, well, how do you know that? Because even if you have a dog that comes in on a 72-hour hold and we vaccinate it, it can still get parvo a day later. Because that, particularly depending on the age, you got to have 3 to 4 boosters before that really holds. And a dog that's malnourished doesn't have a good efficacy of the vaccine anyway. You can give it 5 vaccines and it'll go home and get parvo the next day if it hits somebody with parvo. So just because a dog got parvo when it got home does not mean it wasn't vaccinated.
Mhm.
That I would depend more on Chuck and the crew there to let me know if they were vaccinated or not, because I think we keep records of that, and we should know if we didn't vaccinate one. And there may be reasons not to vaccinate one. I mean, I know veterinarians that had a dog that come in that was not healthy and said, don't give it the vaccine because the vaccine, if it's not an entirely killed virus, could cause more problems than good, and won't vaccinate them until they're healthy and then vaccinate them.
So typically when we raise those that you're talking about raising right now, as we went through their budget hearings, we're looking at every one of those.
Yeah.
And when you see that we either are right at spending everything, we still have a half a year to go, and we probably need to bump that up. Or if we're not spending but a quarter of it, we may be part, and you'll see what you spent the year before. There's no sense in doubling it if you're not going to spend it.
And in looking at their donations cost center, it looks like they spend some of that on those vaccines that they're
I
administering.
think most of that's spent on vaccines, if I recall.
I just, on those two items, and I'm going to say, I appreciate this handout.
Yeah, this is handy.
They did, or the Public Accountability for Animal Welfare Association, I guess. But I think they did some really good work putting this together.
One thing I wanted to ask is like in Lampasas County, if it's 42, are there any cities that have animal control or animal shelters? Like in Bell County,
Yeah, we have 3.
we have 3 others than that as far as number of kennels, and I have no clue how much Temple or Colleen or whoever else that's Heights shelter. So if you're going to compare, and again, I'm not sure if any of these others counties have cities with
Like the city of Lampasas.
the city of Lampasas or Bastrop or whoever. So I was going to ask that question.
But that was
That wasn't
my issue, but my question on both the food and vaccines for phase 1 suggestion is I think those needs are being met right now. I don't know that there needs to be an infusion of additional dollars or resources there. I don't think. Sorry, we keep interrupting.
No, I enjoy the discussion. The MOU agreements that we have with the other cities, I guess I've never seen any of those for animal control services.
I think we have a copy of them upstairs.
I'm just curious, when the last time those were updated, do we have any requirements onto the city as far as vaccines or any of these things that we have to do?
I know Salato's is a flat $5,000 fee a year, and that was based on how many animals they were generally taking in. And we did that one 2 years ago, maybe 3. Would very long ago, because that helped facilitate that. Belton. They were being billed individually, and it was coming up to about $3,500 a year. And Slato said, "Look, we don't want to. We just make it $5,000," and they just paid that. I don't know what Belton's agreement is, but part of Belton's agreement does include an animal control officer because they do all their own animal control. Just use our facility,
Right.
and their animal control officer helps in our facility too when he's not picking up animals. So
Those
they're
MOUs, I mean, I don't remember seeing them come across our desk
I don't know.
anytime recently.
As far as I recall, they're evergreen.
they've been there a long time.
So,
Salato's
reviewing them and updating them?
Yeah.
But to me, that begs kind of a bigger, broader question, kind of all of this. And again, I appreciate what they laid out in their handout there. Conceptually, depending upon what the court wants to do with what I would call the mission of animal control, because I think what's being proposed is a different mission than what we have right now.
Absolutely.
I think animal control, the animal control facility that we have, really was never intended to operate like what I would consider a shelter to be. Not a shelter. That's not what it is. It's a facility, and it's primarily aimed at meeting public safety needs. I think that's the prime directive, and I think that's the mission that Sheriff's Department and Animal Control has been given. I think what we've heard the past couple of meetings is comments from some that they want to see a different mission adopted. And I think what we do, especially when you get down to everything past the food and the vaccines, depends on what the mission is. What's the mission we want to adopt, so to speak, for animal services? And there's all kinds of questions that flow from that. But I mean, like the outreach coordinator, for example, I am fully supportive of that. I think having some sort of person dedicated to work with those outside agencies and to better coordinate efforts is needed, especially if we're going to adopt a different mission. The challenge I have with it is, can we make that work without, we got some governance issues. I mean, if that position were funded, would it work for the sheriff? And, to me, I kind of see the sheriff's position and the animal control division position as not geared toward, again, sheltering missions. That's not what their aim is. And so, where do you set that up? How do you set that up? And then the facility. I don't think the facility was designed or is being operated in a manner that facilitates a new mission. Just don't think it does. But I mean, I think there's a whole lot of collateral issues that just kind of flow from, do we want to adopt a new mission for animal services that is more than just funding a position, which I think there does need to be a position like that.
And I think that position can facilitate a change in mission if we're going to change that mission. Because right now, if the sheriff's job is animal control, and they do that very well. Now, there's some people who don't like the way that's going on because we euthanize a lot of animals because of that. But understand, most of those animals that come in that we euthanize, I mean, they're very unhealthy. They're rabid. They're not adoptable because most of what we picked up is not little fluffy off the street. So the ones that we do pick up that are fluffy, and then we've got too much space, we don't have enough space, and they're considering euthanizing them simply for space, that adoption coordinator could move those quicker through having good relationships with all the rescuers that work very well around here and move those quicker and get those out of there until we can have another facility, potentially a shelter, if we decide to go there.
I know you mentioned this building here in Belton, but that would require purchasing, and it looked like it needs to be
We cleaned up.
Yeah, it needs some TLC. I mean, we still have that building that we're about to get from CCS in Temple.
But that's going to need a lot of work to make it kennel ready.
Kennels You're gonna have, you're gonna have to start foundation stroke over draining and washing out and all that kind of stuff. I guess that I was a little bit disappointed in that. I think everyone that spoke, the impression, and even I guess that's what the news was here to pick up, is that we're underfunding the Animal Control Center, of which we're not.
Correct.
We're not underfunding food. We're not underfunding vaccinations and all this stuff because no one looked at the amount of what we're spending. They just looked at what we have budgeted. And then they're making their own assumptions and calculations that we don't have enough money in there to feed these animals. That's what's disappointing.
Yep.
And that's not the message here.
2 years ago, we spent just under $400,000 on that facility. And 2 years ago, we all sat up here and the sheriff said, we need more help. We need more stuff. We need more space then. And we bumped that up to $526,000 last year, which I don't think we quite spent all of it. It was budgeted, but we were pretty close to it. And then $610 this year. We added another $92,000 this year to facilitate that for help and everything. So we have been making improvements to that. As a matter of fact, we have a whole new regime that now has focused on that even more. And the only animal control board meeting we had this year was in March, which we were supposed to have them quarterly. I went to one other meeting the year before because they never, the folks that were running at that time only scheduled one. So we didn't get to talk a lot about them. But this year, we've had the one in March. We had another one scheduled this last month, which we had and invited all these same people to do it. And they wanted to address the court, so they came and addressed the court. That's all fine. But I think all these things they're wanting to do, as a matter of fact, at that animal control meeting we had, and they were talking about it, we said, we are doing these things. We're looking at these options right now. And even having conversations about CIP, if we need to expand the facility we have or buy another facility as a shelter, that's a regime, that's a culture change for us. But we are in the process of it. So I don't disagree with any of that, but I thought we had put enough money in the budget this year with me looking at it, knowing what we're talking about in the animal control, that we were facilitating the things that the new animal control staff want to facilitate. And I think a lot of this came about because we've got a couple of individuals that disagree over how that place is being run, which we're always going to have that. And so because of that, we had some more discussions, which are great. But I think a big, which I don't believe we fix in this budget cycle at all, big discussion is, do we want to have the sheriff just be animal control and maybe us or somebody else handle a shelter facility and change what we're doing now? Or do we want to remain animal control? And I think, and even if we just remain animal control, I think that person that we're talking about, some outreach type coordinator, could work at that animal control office and but at full time, just keep anything that comes that's adoptable after it's 72 hours, it's going to a rescue somewhere. And that we could do without having to buy something. Even if we're going to buy something in the future, that's going to take a little while if we could hybridize it.
Open that door. Maybe I should.
Oh, we need to. He runs the department.
I think that, you're boots on the ground and you got folks that are boots on the ground. And, the county.
He wants to know about JP's of days past. Which one? Madge Turner?
Yeah.
Floyd Campbell?
Yes.
Precinct 1 came to the county jail every day, 7 days a week.
Or just that.
Yeah. Back in the days when you came to work at the county to serve the people. Bigger picture than just animal control facility. Animal control for the sheriff's department, several things. To enforce the ordinance that this court adopted in 2011. Okay? That's rabies control. Second mission, loose livestock. Falls under agricultural code. If a cow's running down Main Street in Killeen, Texas, it's the sheriff's responsibility. It's not KPD's. It's all one picture. That's why when we were putting together a transition last fall, that came up. So we need one person to manage all things livestock related, animal related. So that's kind of where we're at. I think it's great. I've got some ideas that I think I'd like to workshop with the court in a few weeks. We're still putting them together. But let me describe the animal shelter that we found when we got here. 2 words: dumpster fire. I had a visit on a Saturday morning with another member of the board, of the shelter board, that told me that it started spiraling about 2.5 years ago. You were here. I wasn't. I was happily retired.
I was
Anyway,
only here a year ago on the animal board.
anyway, that's true. The last time I sat on that board, it was Commissioner Driver.
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot of issues to be addressed.
Yeah.
My custodian of record, I've asked her to come in case there's any mention about records, because she has been inundated with open records requests from these people to the point where we can't get anything else done. She also has to worry about subpoenas and discovery for court, expunctions and things along that nature. So we're trying to get them out as much as we can. And we're not trying to hide anything from anybody. But when you go to the dumpster that's on fire, it's hard to find these records. Once you do find them, you find clumps of stuff that's been stapled together. You got to take time to, I think 16 hours you worked on one last week, one request, 16 hours later. So we got a plan, putting it together. We hope to bring it back to you in a few weeks in the workshop, let you know which way we're heading. You're on point about having someone be that coordinator. And if we did have a separate facility as an adoption facility, that person could manage that aspect. If not, have that one person working with our animal shelter folks so that once that animal can leave the shelter, coordinate with these different adoption groups. Some of them, I think, are breed specific. And those, okay, so if you don't have any dachshunds today or any German Shepherd, then they got to go somewhere else. But and some of the confusion in the last couple of weeks, one person was upset because somebody else got a dog that they were supposed to get or something like that. And then some words were said about having vaccination papers. That's not what the ordinance says. That's just what people came up with. So we got to get protocols in place. We got to get a plan and move forward. But you're not going to get away from an animal shelter as long as you want the sheriff to enforce the rabies ordinance. Do y'all have any questions?
How do you think the sheriff would react to an outreach coordinator that did not work for him?
I think that would be great. I think he would accept that as a wonderful thing. I've kind of tossed that around this weekend. Having that person that's not associated, not a part of a group, a nonprofit group, not a part of the sheriff's office. It's an independent person.
Because again, as you said, as we've said, again, the mission for Animal Control Division is not necessarily focused on adoptions and foster homes and all those kinds of things. That's not just not the focus, and I'm not throwing a rock at that. That's you've got, as you've outlined, you've got other duties that facility has to do. But that said, if the mission is going to change or expand, and I didn't take, Russell, I didn't necessarily take the comments to be that we weren't spending enough on food or vaccines or that kind of stuff. I took the comments to mean we want to see euthanasia rates drop. We want to see foster opportunities for the animals to increase. We want to see those kinds of things.
Yeah, I heard that too, but when they speak specifically on the dollar amount for dog food.
Oh yeah, no.
Specifically on vaccine, that we don't have enough money in there to raise it.
I think those are
that they're misinformed on not having enough. I promise you, everyone, they're thinking that we don't have enough money to feed these dogs.
No, 100% agree with that. I think, and I hopefully we've dispelled a little bit of that today, that there is, those are funded.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm just saying, I think their push was, let's increase, let's expand our services in those areas so that we can reach some objectives in terms of getting dogs adopted and cats and animals and all that kind of stuff. And to me, the partnership that we have to have with these private agencies and entities around the county is critical. I mean, whether we have another facility or whether we utilize the capacity that might be out there with those existing private shelters that are in place, or other public shelters that might be in place with the cities or wherever. But I also think, again, because mission one for the sheriff's office isn't necessarily directed at that, it might be better to have that, what I would call a liaison position, not under the sheriff, so that they can liaison with those private agencies, but would need full support, full access, all that kind of stuff to animal services for that.
One of the things we're approaching as far as the records management, we have a steering committee that meets first Tuesday of every month with Adam. And it's specifically to go over software and development, things that the sheriff's office is using, what are we using that's antiquated, where do we need to go forward. This covers everything from body camera footage to jail surveillance, first one thing another. Tomorrow is our August meeting, and on our agenda is for Adam's crew to develop a software program that's usable for us in the shelter that's not antiquated like they currently have. That way we will be able to produce record information much faster, be at our fingertips. So Adam's already gave thumbs up. We're moving forward with that. So we hope to have our software that be accessible.
There's nothing in our statutes that are directed to us by the state that we need to have an animal shelter, but we do have to take care of situations where they are breaking the law, creating programs. We have to take care of the animal control. That's part of our program, so we have to stand up.
But you have to shelter animals for 72 hours before you can do anything with them to make sure they get an opportunity to pick their animal up. They get, or you got rabies quarantine that's got to be there 10 days.
Understood all of that. So my thing is when that's done, we need the shelter and the adoption and all of that should be, about people who are involved in that really care about it. Well, and just like all these other adoption agencies, when I get the laugh from my control auditor.
No, it's all now.
Is it me? Is it me who's
No.
laughing at, or just not comment?
Not you at all.
Okay. My suggestion would be if there is a way for us to just draw a line in the sand between animal control and shelter, and try to privatize that aspect, kind of like we do with the typical community clinic. And if that saves us some money, we got $620,000. If it only out cost us $400,000, we take care of the $200,000. We facilitate that private entity. And then that way we got the people managing it that are there to.
But there's also an issue of the facility that we currently have now is not designed to be a shelter. It is really just an intake unit. So, because if you have a healthy dog that needs to get sent out somewhere, it's in there with all this and the same air and everything as all the sick animals. And you bring somebody in to show them this dog down here and they got to see all that too. It's hard to adopt. That's right. And medically, they need to be segregated.
I agree.
Especially when they're young.
Final mission on that, when I said it was more than just maintaining a shelter. Animal control officers also responsible for investigating and assisting in the prosecution of any criminal cases. Last Friday, Precinct 4, we got a call to an abandoned house that had two very obviously deceased dogs and then one live dog that was obviously malnourished and underfed and hadn't had water in a while, and obtained warrants to collect the two deceased dogs and the live dog. We fortunately got the live dog. I think it took a while that night, but got it to a vet and got it in good shape. I think it's at the shelter now being taken care of, but it's actually evidence in a criminal case. So that's totally different than adopting animals, are totally different than.
Sure, and there's going to be those kinds of animals and others that are not going to be adopted. And maybe that will help them. But I mean, there may be some vicious dogs that you'll pick up. There may be some dogs that are not able to. They're just not going to leave. They're not leaving. That's why no kill, as I understand it, the definition of no kill facility is 90% out, but 10% don't make it out.
But those are those no kill shelters are not animal control facilities.
Right.
So we can take animal control, do everything needs to be done there, and healthy animals come out of there and go to a shelter and have a no kill shelter pretty easily, I think.
And I also think it doesn't necessarily be us doing it because we have so many. I mean, you've met them. They're really good at what they do. If we had MOUs with those folks who come down there all the time, want to get animals from us. Matter of fact, some of the biggest complaints we've gotten are they won't give us the animal. You know, they would take the animal if we would give it to them. That's why I think the outreach coordinator would be able to better facilitate that and make sure if that animal needs to be out of that facility, go to looking for somebody to take it today. Once it's past 72 hours or whatever the case may be.
So are we going to fund an outreach coordinator?
I wrote that down as an item to vote on next week.
Okay. Do we have a suggested salary?
Well, they suggested 37 plus benefits.
Yeah.
And more than, I think a couple of people said they thought that was more than adequate.
So we
It's 37.
how do we set up a reporting structure on markets? Where would that person report? We just said it would be an independent.
The county judge?
What do you have recommendations? You have recommendations?
I would suggest that we get that plan and get those MOUs and understand what we're doing. Because even right now, what I'm hearing is even if we get 10 dogs tomorrow that are adoptable, we've got a spot to put them with 40 dogs that are sick.
See, my thinking was that's one of the tasks that you get to the outreach coordinator.
But go what? But you still got
Go develop the MOUs, develop a plan, bring it forward.
okay
Instead of us doing it.
Well, that should 100% be what if we change the mission.
So that position can report to the court then.
I don't think so. I mean,
Who said the report to?
Yeah.
Sheriff, not the sheriff of the court.
I would not.
Not the sheriff.
I would not put it into the sheriff. Because I think they're two different missions.
yeah. So
Bob's not in here.
Shayla, she just threw you right under the bus. So we're talking Jeff. Oh, he's in here.
They've learned.
But
Jeff got all the way under that chair back there.
the only area that we have to potentially program is that shelter or that control center.
For now, I think we're going to get into a CIP discussion, and there's going to be suggestions about that. But even if we don't have, even if that's the only facility we have, again, it seems to me like the coordinator could be tasked to go out and identify capacity that's in the private sector, and you work with that.
Doing a foster program?
I think if you take the list that you've got right now, Louis, we got a list the other day.
Yeah.
50 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. We mobilize and help support. The people that already mobilize interest, that's in our community.
And I think we should do that before we go buy or build another facility.
Yes. Well, I agree.
And then we're the person that, I mean, obviously you've got to be involved with your program.
100%.
Obviously, this person is going to have to tell your people or you what you should and shouldn't do.
No, not tell.
Okay, well, I mean,
They're getting the animal when they've done what they're coordinate. And that's why I asked, one of my questions was, is the sheriff receptive to somebody working in that facility, helping liaison between the private agencies and the sheriff's office? And I thought the answer was yes.
we're going to work on the standard operation
Exactly.
SOPs because they're tasked with something. And when somebody goes and says, no, we're going to take all these over here. We're going to isolate all these kennels. We're going to clean them up. And you cannot put a dog in there that's sick or wanting to get sick. Okay. That's my point.
Yes.
So there's no space this person can go say, I'm going to run a program. And
Oh, yeah, there is. The program is outside that facility, at least initially.
initially they have to come into the sheriff's.
They have to. They have to. But once they hit the 72 hours, hand it off.
Where did
That point, make me sick.
That's what the coordinator does.
Goes to sick dogs during that 72 hours, and there's no.
So the coordinator's going to go tell somebody out there at the control area, you rope off these 16 kennels.
No. 72 hours, it's 100% sheriff.
That's right.
They do whatever they need
So they're
to
gonna be exposed to,
and they all got everything. They got everything with it. Now, every 72 hours, that outreach coordinator is going to be replacing that animal with somebody else. You don't know if it's healthy or not. That may not exhibit anything yet. That's why it's going to be put on hold and not.
Then there ain't no way to separate it.
There isn't until that 72 hours is over. And then you got to have triage, you got time to check them, you vaccinate them, you worm them, and then they need to get the heck out of them.
If we have enough money in the current, but
wow, this guy.
part of that, I still have enough money to operate.
Well, we got to vote on it. We got to vote on it next week.
No, but my question is, if we, right now in the budget, we have $10,000, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
The fund, 620. 620. Is that budget so tight that we can't carve out 45,000 or whatever dollars
Yeah, it's all people now, almost entirely. I was able to carve it out. Judge's salary savings that we did earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I already spent on JPs. That's not where I'm at.
It depends on which item is first.
And that,
Same question with the clerk, but we just talked.
where would that position fall under?
Raising
I
taxes.
guess I'm still a little
I don't know.
confused. Precinct 2?
Let me ask you this. We have a vet, county vet that they're not employed by us, but she is the vet for animal control. Would it be reasonable to allow that person to report to that vet
To the Animal Advisory Committee.
or to the advisory committee?
I wouldn't do that. I think they need to report to a county employee or elected official, not to. That board is made up of non-county folks.
No, I want to.
No, but
Who the sheriff of the animal?
who else is on the board?
Commissioner with our vet.
No, I think
The vet?
it's gonna
That
have.
is on the board. Yeah.
I know, but he does. Is he employed by us? No. So we're going to put a county employee under the direction of a non-county employee. Wouldn't do that.
Other than them, I mean, they're kind of on an island.
It's not the sheriff, it needs to be.
I'm not saying that position shouldn't work with that board. I'm not saying that at all.
If it's not the sheriff, it needs to be commissioner's court. If that, my first choice would be sheriff, not thinking sheriff, I'm thinking commissioner's court. And I see that being.
Another thing we gotta go to this.
Oh, we're here a while. We didn't got the CIP. But I guess we're going to talk about that here a second. Well, I don't know. I don't have any more.
I gotta leave at 5. I'm good, but I gotta leave at 5.
All right. Well, we can cover.
I mean, you've got a good point. Does it have to be an employee or could it be a contribution to one of the rescues that they designate a person?
Contract.
Yeah, no, exactly.
They don't all get along.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Do like a bail bonus.
That's like picking your favorite child.
Yeah. I think it needs to be an employee of the county.
All right. I guess we can resolve that. Assuming the position gets identified as something we want to fund. Designate where it's going to go. Sounds like commissioner's court. This works.
Yeah.
All right. So before you leave, is there, Tina,
Yes.
CIP discussion?
Yes.
If I recall, can we talk about that on the 11th?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because we can.
So now you heard the clip, and at the end of it, it seems hopeful, right? That we're going to hire an outreach coordinator, and that we're going to be able to place that outreach coordinator under the commissioner's court with the long-term goal of separating shelter operations and animal control operations, what I think everyone wants. So that was a good thing. I left this positive. I was talking to some of the animal rights advocates, and they were happy and ecstatic about that. But the next day after this meeting was on Tuesday. Oh no, it was on Monday. This meeting was on Monday this week. After that Tuesday, I got word that the sheriff is against an outreach coordinator that is not under his office that he doesn't have any control over. So, that's going to be the source of contention on Monday. So I'm calling all my listeners, all the animal rights advocates, to engage. The fact that the Commissioner's Court is even thinking about this and seemed like they're prepared to vote for this, in favor of this, just shows the power of engagement and advocating and staying reaching out to your elected officials. We're going to do something. But what we do is up to you. Remember that. What we do is up to you. So stay engaged. I hope you're able to come out Monday. If not, you can go on the Commissioner's Court website, look at our agenda. There's ways that you can participate if you're not able to come in person. If you want to participate for a conference link, you just have to register with Shelley Costin, our county clerk, at least 1 hour prior to the 9 a.m. meeting on August 11th. And you can testify from your home or from work or from your car, or wherever you're at, you could testify. So let's utilize all of our resources that we have to stay engaged, and hopefully at our next meeting, our next podcast, we'll have some good news for you. So stay tuned, stay engaged. There is a meeting tomorrow, Project 2026, that the Coalition of Black Democrats are putting on of Bell County. So I'll be attending that. I'll be a panelist on that. And so I'm looking forward to all this good stuff that's going on this weekend. And I will talk to you next week.